Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the most wholesome YouTube channel on the internet and another episode of Through the Lens. And this time we have story editor, writer, producer, director, and just overall great artist, Maegan Houang on the channel today. She directed the music video for Mitski Happy, which I think we reacted to maybe 3 or 4 months ago. If you haven't watched that video, you definitely should. There's a lot of information on her process and directing style and kind of her approach to that video, as well as her work, which is incredible. You can find everything that you need in the description to check out her work. You definitely won't regret it. But if you want to join our Discord, the link is in the description below. In the Discord, lots of cool things going on. It's really dedicated to finding the music and music videos. But we also watch movies, like tonight's movie night. And then we listen to albums or foreign music and play games all the time. So if you want to join, meet new people, learn new music, you definitely can. Help us get to 450 members. We just got to 400. I'll see you there. Link in the description below. Before we jump into this interview with Maegan, let's set the ambience. If you don't know what that means get your tea ready. Put the headphones on. Hey Maegan, how's it going?
Hey, it's great. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks again for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm very excited to chat with you for one. I feel like I have a lot to learn from you, and then I think our audience will as well. I definitely really appreciate your work. And I know we see the comment that I'm so glad you commented on Mitski's video. I know it's been quite a while. It's been like a few months since I put that video out, that reaction to your video. And
it was super fun to watch, honestly. I had a great time seeing how you responded. It's always fun to see what people think at the end.
I loved it, and it definitely caught me off guard. I would love to chat more about that, but I kind of want to go over like your processes and things like that. But before we do any of that stuff, could you tell the audience who you are, what do you do, how'd you get started?
Sure. My name's Maegan Houang, and I'm a writer, director based in Los Angeles. I started out in like a pretty classic Hollywood way. I was an assistant for 5 years. So I worked for a production company. Oh, actually, it's like an independent studio called Meteorites Capital. I worked for a filmmaker, Miguel Arteta. I worked for Justin Marks on Counterpart as the writer's assistant and as his assistant. So I was on set for all of season 1.
Oh, wow.
And then I was staffed for season 2, so that I became like a staff TV writer. But the whole time I was doing that, I was still making music videos and producing music videos and directing music videos and doing things like that in my free time.
So you're seeing that you were a season 2 writer for Counterpart, but you're also working on as a story editor. Is it Shogun?
Yeah, that ended last year, but that's Justin's new show for FX, which is based on the James Clavell novel Shogun.
Gotcha.
So it's a 1600 Japanese epic. It should be really fun.
That had to be super fun. Where's that going to be at? Is that Stars or?
It's on FX.
FX, gotcha, cool. I don't have cable,
yeah,
but I definitely would try to check it out. But that's super cool. It's interesting because this is our first time chatting with. We definitely. I know you know Drew, who we chatted with about the Joji video, which is cool. How do you know Drew?
I actually produced a music video he shot for Death from Above 1979.
Gotcha.
In 2014 or 2015, I think 2014. Yeah.
Oh, sick. Drew's such a nice guy.
He's so nice.
He was so willing to. He actually hit me up, so this never would have happened.
Really?
I didn't have any intentions
That's
of
cool.
chatting with directors or directors of photographies or writers until Drew hit me up and was like, "Hey, I would love to come chat about this video on the channel." So the idea is really Drew's,
awesome.
which is cool that you guys know each other as well. But yeah, so we found each other via the Mitski reaction, and we'll chat about that a little bit. I wanted to ask you first, like as a director, writer, producer, kind of like, what's your process? Is it, and how exactly do you define yourself in those job positions, or do you kind of like bounce around?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just really love filmmaking. So then, in that sense, I think of myself more as a filmmaker than any one of those specific jobs. But my process is just I try to think of. When it comes to a music video, specifically, I just try to think of the emotional core of the song, how it makes me feel, and what kind of emotion I want to provoke. Sometimes I want to provoke an emotion akin to the song, or sometimes I think it's fun to take it in a little bit of an unexpected direction. But for me, I just try to start with how with feelings, I guess, because my favorite movies make me feel something.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I'm trying to make something, I'm just trying to figure out how can I provoke an emotional response from the audience. And I found for music videos what's really useful is genre, because it's a shorthand that allows you to set up characters and situations really succinctly so that you can sometimes access those deeper situations and emotions than you would be able to um, otherwise. So I usually start just from like a feeling or something I went through, and then I sort of go from there and also think about and then I try to hold on to like the aesthetic, like what do I want it to look like, and sort of mesh those two together because I do care about aesthetics.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I really wanted, for example, with Mitski's video when the song's called Happy, it just reminded me so much of melodramas of the Hollywood studio era where it's all these women who are, or just women in general, who have to feel like they're happy but they're not actually happy because it's not like the song Happy is a happy song.
Yeah.
So it just reminded me of the melodramas and I wanted to evoke that for the video.
You know, that's interesting that you say that because actually Happy is one of my favorite videos. And I'm not just saying that. I actually showed it one day. We watched dailies on this short film that we were working on, and I was like, oh, you guys got it. We were talking about different videos that we like. I was like, you got to check out this video. My friend Corey, he's all about the horror aesthetic, and I was like, you got to watch this video. Just watch it. Like, I'm not gonna give you any clues or anything because it definitely caught me off guard. And it does, like, it mixed with the very fast-paced beginning of the song, like the production of it, in the way that the juxtaposition between that and then what seems to be like a really romantic type thing at first becomes something so dark. And the way you told it didn't make me feel like I actually jumped, and I don't know if you remember the reaction, but I actually jumped at the end. It was like, whoa, because it made me feel there's something about the way that it's paced and the way you tell it. Like, there's a lot of tight shots, specifically showing like the different hair and the different pieces of gifts that she gets. That made me feel that way. So it's interesting to hear you say it like that.
Yeah, I was definitely like leaning into the aesthetic of melodramas, especially Douglas Sirk, who is probably the most well-known director of that era with All That Heaven Allows. And I love the movie Imitation of Life as well.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, and this is more of a personal question in terms of like my understanding of the video. I've watched it a couple times, and I'll link it in the description. That way, people who may not have seen it will be like, okay, I want to see what it looks like compared to what you're saying. But what's like is the twist? And maybe I'm completely wrong, and if so, it's embarrassing. But is the idea of that he's actually killing these women to get gifts for his wife, or is he just a serial killer?
In my mind, he's just a serial killer who takes tokens from the women he kills, and his wife's the easiest way to hide those tokens within his home.
Oh, see, I didn't think about it as a form of his tactic. Gotcha.
But I think that what I was interested in is I don't think he has a lack of affection for his wife. He just is a psychopath. So it's probably more of a feeling of ownership than it is a feeling of love.
That definitely comes off in the video because he seems hateful a lot of the times. But yeah, he still gives her gifts, which is already odd in itself. How much of that was I don't know how, like, Mitski's idea versus you guys working together coming up with a concept?
This was completely my idea. She and I talked, and I just said, look, let me just pitch what I'm thinking, and if you don't like it, don't worry about it. Mm-hmm. And so I sent her a treatment, and she was really into it. So I just did it, and a couple things changed, but it was pretty close to the treatment I sent her.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sick. Do you like? Is that kind of how? Because your music videos for me, because I'm really like a DP, but like, or trying to be a DP, and I have worked on a few music videos where I've directed, and it is a different process for each approach. Where sometimes I'm shooting a video that is very much the artist's concept, and they really want this. They're pretty strong on that idea, and sometimes they want me to do everything. And your videos are so, I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, but they have such a nice style to them that it seems consistent with yours. What exactly is that kind of how you approach every project? Do people come to you like, hey, Maegan, we kind of want you to bring your own voice to this project?
Yeah, so I think about it. Uh, Almost every video I've done has mostly been my idea. The most collaborative videos I've done have been with Vagabond because
I've
they're
seen those.
performance videos, and so they're more about showcasing her, and so it's asking, like what she really needs from them.
Mm-hmm.
But the other videos, I tend to just come up with an idea and see if they're into it. And that is also because, as you know, music videos don't have a lot of money.
Right.
So for me to want to make a video for $3,000, I think I just want to be able to make something that I want to make.
That's a good point.
That the artist likes too. I obviously take notes if there's something they don't want, but there is just, a level of self-respect where it's like, okay, well, if I'm going to ask all these favors, ask people to basically waive their rate or be paid an extremely low rate and beg people to let me shoot in their house, like, it just has to be something I really want to do. If there's more money, then I think I'm definitely more willing to be like, what was your idea that you wanted to do? I don't mean to sound like
I know exactly what
I'm
you
not
mean.
collaborative,
Mm-hmm.
but I love working with other people. I love getting feedback and I love getting notes. Like, I'm a TV writer. All I do is sit in a room with people and like work together with
Yeah.
them. But it's so hard to make stuff that and with such a little amount of money that I just prefer if it's something that I can be excited about. And I think because that's how I started, most people, I don't make that many music videos because like I don't have a music video rep and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not signed with a production company. So most of the people that I make music videos with are asking for me to like make a music video that's from my heart and soul and inspired by their music, and we work together on it. But I think that's also why they're asking me to do something with them.
Right.
And that's great. I loved working with Vagabond, and I would love to do more videos like that where it's more performance based and like we can explore just like more like formal shot choices a little bit than just narrative. But yeah, does that
Yeah.
answer the question?
Totally, because I hear so much of that sentiment of like, and a good friend of mine said, he said, if you are going to ask for favors, make sure it's something that you care about, because people only give favors a few
Yeah.
times. And so I love that. I love that philosophy for sure. Actually, for Vagabond's videos, I think her videos came across my Instagram like a couple times before I ever reached out to you.
Oh,
Before I
cool.
even knew who you were, and then I went to your website and seen. I was like, oh, I've seen these videos. I'm equally as impressed. But yeah, I love that. I
Oh,
love that
thanks.
concept for sure. Especially the idea of if you're not a music, if you don't really market yourself as a music video director, then yeah, I'll take the projects. Especially if they're lower budget, I'll take the projects as long as at least as long as I could try to bring some of my voice into it. I think that's this,
Yeah.
the self-respect aspect of it really stands out, and that's super admirable for sure. Um, and I want to chat a lot about your video Full Bloom, your film.
Oh, thanks.
I watched it this morning and I was blown away. First of all, and a little scared at the end of it too. I was like, oh, don't put your legs in the. But I won't spoil it for anyone who wants to watch it. But I wanted to ask you for one. How'd you get involved with that, or how did you end up making that project? Was it a project that came from your heart, or is it more so something that a friend of yours? Just how'd you get started with that?
Yeah, so that was a script I wrote a long time ago, maybe in like 2014 or 2015, that I just really wanted to make as a short film, but it was really expensive. So I just figured I'd never really be able to make it. But then my friend actually sent me a link to the Visco Voices Creator Grant,
Yeah, I've
which
seen that.
is a grant with Visco and Access Ventures. And I got it. So I got $20,000. And so I just set out and used the $20,000 to make this film that I just had really wanted to make for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole idea and stuff is just something I thought about one day, and I thought it would be a fun visual film. Something I really love about filmmaking and I think is a fun challenge is telling stories without dialogue, which is partially why I do really like the music videos as a medium, but also I wanted to do that in my short film and just try not to have any dialogue in it, because I think that is something that's powerful about filmmaking. And I really like dialogue too. It was just a good it's just good practice, I think, in terms of becoming a better visual storyteller. How far can we go without saying a single word?
And without spoiling too much about the short, in case anyone's watching this and wants to check it out, because I definitely think it's something that you want to wait to see. You don't want to know about it beforehand. It's one of those interesting concepts. I want to act because it seemed for me when I was watching it, it is very, and tell me if I'm wrong, but it's symbolic in a way. And I know that a lot of your projects are based off the Asian American experience or revolves around that aspect as well. Is that something that's safe to say is true, or is it?
I mean, I definitely think of the film as like a metaphor, and I think it could be a metaphor for a lot of things, which is intentional. I don't think it needs to be necessarily what my interpretation is. Like, I want people who watch it to be able to take away whatever they need to take away from it, but it is a metaphor for just the overwhelming feeling of grief. And I think that grief can be manifested in a lot of ways. Grief isn't always just when someone dies. Grief is also when you let something go. I think this whole year with COVID, we're all in a state of grief because we're of grief for our former lives. And so I guess I was just trying to make a film that felt like the experience of being overwhelmed with that sense of loss over something you really cared about or loved. But I don't necessarily think it has to be one thing.
Gotcha.
And I without like giving away the ending or anything, I don't necessarily think the ending is completely sad or tragic. It's just about making the decision that's best for you when you're unable to continue living the life that you had.
Gotcha. Yeah. And now seeing the film, that feels like I kind of got that feeling for sure. With certain props in the film, without saying too much. So I'm glad to hear it from that perspective for sure. It's a beautiful film, beautifully shot as well.
Thank
you. So do you work in Mitski's Happy video? I've noticed something about. There seems to be a style. Is that did you work with the same DP on that one?
Yeah, so Christopher Ripley, I work with a lot. He shot the Mitski Happy video, the Skylar Spence video, and In Full Bloom. And then Joanna Wynn shot the Charlie Bliss video and the 2 Vagabond videos. I love working with both of them. Chris is one of my best friends. We work really well together. He's just really good at listening and being able to execute what I'm asking, in addition to coming to the table with really good ideas. And Joanna is also really incredible. And the thing I think that I like the most about working with them is that I tend to shoot things that have a lot of production design, that have a lot of that are inside, and I like dramatic lighting. So the thing about Chris and Joanna is that they're both extremely capable of executing the lighting that I prefer, which it's hard to do that, especially on lower budgets. So like for the Vagabond video with rear screen projection, I mean, that was really an adventure because Joanna and I have never done rear screen projection. Neither of us had. So we were just figuring it out together. And that's something I love about working with DPs, is that adventure of like, so how are we going to do this crazy idea? Like, I don't totally know yet, but we're going to figure it out. Cinematographers are some of my favorite people to work with because, I love thinking about the shots and how they're going to connect together and the lighting and what it all means. And I'm also very obviously obsessed with production design.
Yeah, the lighting stood out to me in both of those videos, in your short and for Mitski's video, as incredibly dramatic and beautiful. That's impressive, knowing that if you're doing that on a lower budget as well, to say the least. I mean, they're both just so talented. It's incredible. It's incredible for sure. What was I going to say? Back to what you were saying about the set design as well. It's interesting seeing you say it because it's subconscious. I didn't really. It just looks good, and I guess that's what kind of you want it to just look good. But when you say that now, I know it's like, oh yeah, that she did have a lot of set design in both of those videos. I noticed as I was watching it in full bloom, this is a lady who is interested in planting. She's a gardener, and her house is covered in plants. It was just like it's not one room sectioned off, but it seemed like she was the type of character who would have a window plant or something on her counter and stuff like that. So I love the way you incorporate those types of set design into the story. It definitely is impressive.
Yeah, I love production design. I think you can say so much about a character and a mood with set design and color. And I think that, I think there's a trend which makes a lot of sense in American cinema, which tends towards realism and handheld cameras and shooting on location where people really live. And that makes a lot of sense because it's not expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And it captures something that I think, it captures everyday life in a way I think people really like. But I like to escape too. And I think that one thing I'm always trying to do is create just emotional authenticity, but not necessarily have the world be so based in reality, because I live in reality every day. And I don't know, right now reality really sucks. Like, we just hear ambulances all the time outside our window in Los Angeles right now. And I just think there's something a little lost in the past maybe like 20 or 30 years in American cinema that's moved away from like fantasy and sci-fi. I think there's a reason Lord of the Rings was so popular, not only because I think they're great movies, but I think people are like, yeah, those feel emotionally real, but I don't need to live in my house, when I'm seeing a movie. So I think that that's something I always like striving towards, because it's just something I like.
Mm-hmm.
And I like stuff to be pretty. I mean, I think that it's fun if stuff looks good. So. Of
course, yeah. I see what you're saying. It's interesting to hear that perspective, because I haven't heard that in a while. Because it seems like there's a lot of movies that are incredible, that are so real. It's like incredibly sad or incredibly happy or incredibly reminiscent or nostalgic. But yeah, you don't see, especially on a short film level. I haven't seen many short films recently that are very fantastical or escaping in a way. So it is nice. That's a good point. It is like your stuff does have like a very like the emotions feel real, like the things that are happening feel real, but it does look like in Mitski's video, it feels like a sometimes I look at it and it has like a soap opera type of, which is very dramatic type of look to it, and it looks super good. Are there any future projects, whether they be personal or things that you're working on with other people, that you have coming up?
Yeah, I have two like TV shows I'm working on that I can't say that much about, but I'm excited and I hope that they get made, but you never know. It's such a crazy business. Mm-hmm. So maybe one of them will happen. And then I'm just whittling away on trying to figure out, I'm working on a feature script, so just figuring out how to finish it and like make it happen. But one thing I wanted to say about music videos, though, just off of what we were just talking about, is that that's actually what's so awesome about music videos. Like, I think about the Daniels and like how amazing their work is, and it's because they're just not afraid to push the boundaries of reality. And I think that that's what's so fun. Like obviously Turned Down for What's their biggest, most popular video. Mm-hmm. But part of it, what's so effective is it's like, yes, we've all been overcome with this like intense desire to just be sexual, and they just explore that in such a fun way. And I just think that's, I just, more and more things like that I'm always cheering for, because I want full-length feature films and TV shows that are more like that than to exist in the world. But yeah, I'm working on lots of stuff. You never know when it's going to happen.
Yeah. Would you say, when you say that, it reminds me of Swiss Army Man?
Yeah, exactly. Which is their movie.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the Daniels movie.
Oh, no. Oh, well, that's perfect. Then that's like their style.
Exactly.
Yeah,
totally.
It is.
And I love that.
Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah. I didn't realize. I've seen those videos. I didn't know Daniels. I need to do my research on the Daniels. 'Cause I definitely haven't
Yeah,
checked out their work, but that film and that music video has a lot of similarities in terms of how it's like over the top, but also like it has great storytelling.
exactly. I think that that's just something fun that I think music videos are such a great place for directors to practice and get better, and then hopefully move into longer form content and just push the boundaries of absurdity and reality, because I don't know, life's like challenging. Like, I don't know, it's hard to like live in it so one to one all the time.
Mm-hmm. And speaking on that, it's I personally, and I'm sure some of the audience members who are watching it haven't heard like the perspective of like a writer, um, story editor, as well as a director and producer, or just general filmmaker. My question is like, what advice, being someone who, because it seems like there's like an uncanny valley. Because I remember when I was first started, I wanted to be a writer a long time ago. When I was in college, I was like, I want to try to write for films. But that seems like there was so little information on how to actually get into that world. It seems like it's like an echelon, or like how do I break into that? Do you have any advice
Yeah.
for people who might be looking to do that?
It's a super challenging um, thing to break into in a lot of ways. I think my only advice is I didn't know what I was doing either. Like, I grew up in Michigan. My parents are like academics. Like, they don't know anything about film. No clue. Was horrified by what I was trying to do. Very confused.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know anyone I could call. But I think that the best way to break in is to keep writing, which is really important, and put yourself in opportunities where people will read your work. So that could be submitting to contests, which can be really painful and expensive and feel like a really small bullseye, or it can be working as an assistant for executives and managers and other writers who, after you win over their affection a little bit, are very willing to read your script and give you feedback. But I think the thing I find a lot with people who are writing that's hard is, like, a lot of people have a clear vision of what they're trying to do in their head, but they can't necessarily always translate it on the page.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that if you're just starting out and you're like, is what I'm writing good? Does it make sense? I think that one of the most helpful things can sometimes just be having a friend or a family member who's not a screenwriter or anything, who doesn't know anything about movies. Just read the script, and you're not necessarily looking for their feedback, because sometimes they'll be like, this didn't make, you're saying, I was trying to do this in this scene. Did that make sense? Like, did what I write match the vision in my mind? And once you can do that, then I think it's easier to like find success, because at least what you're trying to do is clear on the page. And then it's just about making sure that the story makes sense and works emotionally, which just comes from practice. And I think one essential part of practice that sometimes I think can be underrated or just get made fun of a little bit is just watch a lot of movies. Mm-hmm. and break them down and analyze how they work. Like, I've watched the same movie. I've had multiple movies. I've watched the same movie over and over and over again. And that's okay. That's not a waste of time if you're thinking about how it works and what works for you. And also, watching a lot of movies allows you as a filmmaker, writer, or anyone to figure out what you like. So it's about watching something thinking, man, I really like when movies do this. How could I make a movie that elicits that feeling in me, and like, what worked about this scene? And just being very analytical about it. And I'm really lucky because I went to Wesleyan University in Connecticut, where the whole film program is just watching movies and writing papers that break them down and analyzing them. And I think that that's the most invaluable skill that I learned in college to be a filmmaker, because I'm always thinking, what shot do I need to see before this to make this work? Or what kind of scene do I need to have before the ending to make it happen? What kind of opening scene grips me and makes me think I really care about this character, or I'm curious about this character? And I think that it's just, okay, well, and I just like kind of go through that Rolodex of films that I've seen and think, well, it worked like this and this, and how does it work here? And then you also just stay true to yourself, like what interests you in your own life experience. But I'm not necessarily somebody who's like writes stuff about my own life, but it's like I'm always drawing from the emotional experiences I've had or little situations and trying to apply them. But also the other advice I would have is, especially for younger people who are in college, who are trying to do screenwriting, like take classes that aren't screenwriting, you know, learn about science, learn about history, read books, because being a good writer isn't just the technical quality, it's also having something to say. Like read philosophy, read political science, go with where your passions are, because the stuff that we remember, I think, as audiences had a point of view. So if you are 18-year-olds very rarely have points of view, and there's nothing wrong with that. 40-year-olds, a lot of people don't have a point of view, and that's not, there's nothing wrong with that. It's something that can take time to develop. I still feel like I'm always still working on and developing mine, and I think that that's just an underrated part of it too, is it's like, try to figure out what you're trying to say. Like, what's your thesis about the world? Like, I think, I'm just going on a rant, but like another thing that I think gets lost sometimes is so many movies right now, it feels like, need to be about a social justice issue or a social issue in order to feel relevant. But like, I'm not saying that. I think that there's some amazing movies that are just about art, that are just about the formalism of the filmmaking. And if that's your thing, go with that. It's just figuring out what kind of filmmaker you want to be and what you want to say. And I think the work of doing that can sometimes be like underrated or lost, and people should spend more time on it, because that's, I think, what makes really great art. And I think that film is a commercial medium, TV is a commercial medium, but the really good stuff that I think we gravitate towards has that quality of being about something that we can't really put words to. That's why it's a movie. And that's why we want to keep watching it, because I can't describe to you in an essay exactly what made it work or what was great about it, because it's intangible, and that's why it exists as something that feels so artistic.
That's so fun to think about too, because it sounds like the experience of finding your voice or finding what type of filmmaker you want to be, it sounds like it's just about experiencing and learning life in general.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I consider myself very, very new, and especially in the writing world. And it's like, I'm thinking, and a lot of times it's hard to think about, like you'll have ideas and you put them on paper, but it's lacking that little bit of extra, I think, like, I guess, dazzle of something to say. It's just like, for me, it's just like an action film or something like that. And
that's also fine though. That's fine too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe I'll just keep doing what I'm doing.
Well, like I don't want to underrate action films. Like, I think Die Hard's an amazing movie.
Of course. Yeah.
It's a great film. And like, I think that there's like a purpose for those films, and it's just like, if you wanted to go, I'm not saying that's what you want to go make, but I don't ever want it to come across as like every movie has to have this deep meaning.
Yeah.
It just has to have meaning to you. If you love Die Hard and you want to go make Die Hard, like, honestly, Godspeed. I would love more Die Hards. I would be so happy as an audience. But it's just like, I think that sometimes there's a calculation of like what's popular in the world, or like what's the zeitgeist, or what's social media saying. And I don't think that's a way to find or create interesting works of anything or content. I think it's, what do I really care about? Because we are unique people, and we have different interesting things to say, and we should just grab onto those things, versus like trying to fulfill like the niche of whatever film festival wants or something, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to be discouraging.
Sure,
I love action films.
Oh yeah,
so
me too. Me too. Yeah.
I'll never discourage.
For sure, I definitely didn't want to go in that route at all. So I'm glad you corrected that, because I mean, John Wick is awesome. I definitely watched John Wick 1,000 times.
Yeah, there's so many amazing action movies, and they are much harder. Action. I actually had this call once with a program that told me action's easy to direct, and I felt so insulted as someone who loves film, because action is hard to direct. Everything about directing is hard, but directing a really great action scene is actually really not that easy. But there's this vibe of like, well, the stunt coordinators are just going to do it. And it's like, well, I don't think we like watch Heat and think, I don't think the stunt coordinators are like deciding how the action sequences in Heat were made. Sorry, I I think it was just a way to like, it was a program for women, so I think they were trying to like distinguish women from men, and it's like, I don't know, I would love to direct an action film, so I don't think it's easy, but okay.
No, yeah. One thing I've noticed just by like watching or being on set and watching directors as a little guy, just like looking up and everything, making movies is an incredibly difficult task. Like every single step of the way. I mean, it seems like there's so much margin for error. You know, you're first of all, you have to find a way to get people on your side and the story you're telling, and that people can understand your vision. And then that's being the actors, being your entire crew, being your editor, your colorist, whoever, director of photography. So there's so much margin for error. So I believe directing at any level would be, it seems extremely difficult.
It's all hard. It's all hard, and they're all different skills, and people have different strengths and weaknesses, and that's fine.
I want to ask you a couple quick questions. We only have about 3, and these are based around like you as a director or you as a writer. So the first one is, if you could choose a film or television series that best describes your life, what would that be?
My life?
Mm-hmm. Or describes your you in general.
Oh. A film or television series that describes my life?
Or it could be something that impacted your life. That's a little bit easier.
Okay. No, it's a good question. I don't know the exact answer. There's so many that I think about so much. For TV, I mean, I know it's cliche, but I think about and rewatch Mad Men a lot. I think that sort of like repressed white person vibe of the show resonates with my life a lot, because I did grow up in Michigan, and there's just like a certain way people act, and I think that one just like impacted me a lot as a TV writer, and I rewatch it a lot. And then for films, the most impactful movie of my childhood was probably like Beauty and the Beast, which I think is actually a technical masterpiece from a directing and storytelling level. It's just so clean. Every shot, every moment, it just advances the story and emotion like a puzzle, and it's pretty crazy. As a college student, the most important movie I saw was City of Sadness by Ho Xiaoshen, which is a Taiwanese movie from the 80s. And recently, I mean, I really liked First Cow. I just give a lot of answers because I don't know how to narrow
that's
to one.
Super hard question for sure.
But yeah.
And this one may be a little bit easier, but if Steve Irwin, Crocodile Hunter, had you in a headlock, how would he best describe your style, your filmmaking style?
My filmmaking style? Probably absurdly dramatic.
I can hear him saying it right now. Now you kind of already answered this question, but your favorite cartoon as a kid?
Oh, I mean The Simpsons as a recurring TV show.
Okay.
And then probably, yeah, I loved Beauty and the Beast, and I just loved all Disney movies. I was like a classic girl of my age.
They're so consistent. I'm always blown away how consistent those movies are.
I mean I think that little like era of Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, and Lion King are just kind of like, even, you know, like people are like, it's so corporate, or like they mock it, but it's like the technically on a craft level, it's just like, wow. Just kind of nail every single movie.
They do. It blows my mind. I watched Soul recently. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch that yet.
Oh, I'm excited to watch that.
Very existential.
Yeah, Pixar does it too. It's just like, just very well done.
Yeah,
Coco made me sob.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you'll definitely find Soul sad as well. Very, like I said, very existential and quite scary actually. In terms of like if you're thinking about death, you'll like it. I think you'll enjoy it a lot. But all right, guys.
Thanks.
As always, thanks for watching. Thanks, Maegan, for coming on to the channel.
Yeah,
for
no
one.
problem.
I greatly appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed this interview. I'm going to actually leave everything in the description below, like Maegan's website, the Mitski video, some other videos as well, and any other thing that you would like to, like your Instagram or something like that.
No, yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure, yeah, no problem. All right, guys. As always, appreciate you watching, and until next time, peace.
Hell nah, I can let up. Lately I've been fed up. Too much talk around me, but the whole thing is set up. Everybody talk but don't do nothing but say they coming. I know you fun, I know you see me up 2500. Man, I got them press no push your button. No, goddamn hot like a two-stove oven. Turn all the way up, can't cool it for nothing. Catch me.